Hello and welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time here, hi, I'm Cassidy. If it's not, thanks for always tuning into my videos. Today we are doing a book haul. A fun video for all of you. Not so fun for all of me when I had to figure out all the books I've bought recently. To be honest, I haven't done a haul since July, so this is August, September, and October books. So I actually don't think that it's that bad, but I might have a book shopping addiction and it really needs to be sorted out because I need to start saving my money better. That's all, but let's get right into it. I will be categorizing this into gifted, SPFBO, bought, ebooks, and audiobooks, I believe is how I'm going to organize it. So yeah, stick around for the whole thing, I guess. Let's start off with gifted, because it's like kind of an easy pile. The first one we're going to talk about is the first book in the Codex Alera series, Furies of Calderon by Jim Butcher. Emma lovely gifted this to me, and Emma and William have both been trying to tell me to read it, William specifically, for a really long time. I truly don't know much about this story. I know it's an elemental-based magic that we're following our main character, who is a boy who is struggling with magic. He can't seem to use it, but in this military battle, he ends up maybe turning the tides with his strength and his intelligence versus his magic. That's what I think, at least. I don't read a lot of elemental magic, and I think I am intrigued by this one and the military setting and following our probably orphan boy in Calderon Valley at 15. Really intrigued by this one, and I think that I will love this series. I just need to get to it. Then we have The Burning God by R.F. Kuang. This was gifted to me by Brie. Thank you, Brie, as this was the last book in the Poppy War trilogy that I needed to complete the trilogy. I've already read it. It's one of my all-time favorite series, but I had just read it through audiobook, and so I didn't own them and had them on my wish list, and Brie knew it was my favorite series, so she bought it for me. I don't have much to say about this. If you haven't read the Poppy War, you should. Follows Rin, a dark-skinned girl from the Rooster Province who has to prove herself and do things that people think that she shouldn't be able to do because of the color of her skin, because of where she's from, and she ends up at this school for like elite warriors and passing with flying colors, and she just has to prove herself in so many ways. That was a very bad summarization of the Poppy War, but I feel like I've talked about it so many times that you probably already know about it and should go read it, especially if you like morally gray characters. The next one is Ascendant by Michael R. Miller, which was gifted to me by the author. Thank you so much. This one, I don't truly know much about, but I was very excited. I've had this on my wish list for a while, so when the author reached out to me, I jumped on the chance. This follows a boy who, in this world, dragons eat their weak. They kill their weak. I don't know if they eat them. I think I just threw cannibalism in here for no reason. They just kill their young. Okay? They just kill young they deem flawed. I don't know why I said they eat them. Oh, too much horror this month. And our protagonist, Holt Cook, was never meant to be a dragon rider, but he goes on the search for a dragon, and he ends up saving one of the blind dragons that should have been murdered. And he bonds with that dragon. And that's the setup that I know, but on the back it says, "The scourge is rising, undead hordes roam the land, spreading the blight and leaving destruction in their wake. The dragon riders are being slaughtered, and betrayal lurks in the shadows. Holt has one chance to survive. He must cultivate the mysterious power of his dragon's magical core, a unique energy which may tip the balance in the battles to come and prove the world that a servant is worthy after all." I'm excited for this. I love a good dragon story. Next, we have another book that was gifted to me by the author. We have An Incarnation of Shadow and Light by S.A. Christiansen. This is actually a Canadian author, which I thought was great. She's like a province over from me. This is actually a YA, I believe, but I liked it enough, the premise, to give it a try. We do have some drawings in here. I love an indie book for what the drawings they put in. We are following the kingdom of Virchil? I don't know how to say that. But this is a world where people with magic are seen as gods. They're treated like saints and gods until all of a sudden they're murdered. They're killed. And now there's a power struggle. And there's four incarnates who are each seeking power to fulfill their own desires. So we have Gabrielle, a charismatic socialite who takes darker paths to avoid slipping back into powerlessness. Zoe, the daughter of a disgraced merchant, determined to carve a new path for her life. Nicholas, I probably will like Nicholas. I have a thing for Nicks. An exiled prince trying to escape the ghosts of his past. And Silje, An assassin who will stop at nothing until she sees the adoration she has always been denied. Infighting and betrayal runs rampant as each becomes worse than their problems in order to solve them. It sounds like we're going to get some morally gray characters. We are following these archetype characters on this back of this book, but it's something that I can really enjoy is these like 3 to 4 archetyped character POVs, as long as they're given some unique plot to them and unique personality. So I am very excited for this one. Then we have The Grey Bastards by Jonathan French. This was a finalist, I think, for SPFBO. I don't remember if it won or not, but it was in SPFBO and then was picked up and traditionally published. This was gifted to me by Lizzie. Thank you, Lizzie. It was a late birthday present, and so thank you. This one, we're following these... The tagline in this is "Live in the saddle, die on the hog." We're following half-orcs who are fighting side by side in the hard wastes of the Lotlands, spilling their own damn blood to keep civilized folks safe. And I believe that they ride pigs like motorcycles. I'm expecting like a Sons of Anarchy type style gang in this book. Crude humor and just a good time. And I don't know, I'm really excited to try this one. I hope I like it, but it's definitely on the list of things I need to try. The next one is The Coward by Stefan Arian. This was gifted to me by Carrie for my 1-year anniversary on BookTube. Thank you, Carrie. I hit that in September. And this one follows our protagonist who once was the hero. And 10 years later, he's being called back. They need him to save the world. But the thing is, he never actually was a hero. He just got lucky. And so now he has to figure out how he's going to save the day again. But he ain't a hero. He's a coward. This sounds really interesting. I think it's a classical fantasy, and although I have problems with some classic fantasy, there are some that I really love. I think Malice is a very classic fantasy style book, so I'm really hoping that this one will do it for me. That's the end of the gifted. Let's get into SPFBO finalists, because I have 10 of those. The first one is A Song for the Void by Andrew C. Piazza. This one is a alternate history, historical fantasy type book. I think it's set on a pirate ship, I believe. It's during the Opium Wars in the water surrounding Hong Kong. It's a haunting, terrifying historical novel that will keep you turning the pages and jumping at the shadows. I am slightly confused because this is in the SPFBO competition. If you don't know what SPFBO is, there is a video explaining it on my channel. I am actually doing SPFBO Cassie's version this year, where there's 10 different bloggers who are reading the finalists alongside with me, and we are rating them the way the SPFBO competition does it, and we're just going to compare our results to theirs. I'm confused because it's a fantasy competition, and from the back of this there doesn't seem like a lot of fantasy. On Goodreads it's classified as cosmic horror, so I'm going to try and go into it open-minded because I do like horror, but I'm very scared that there's not going to be a lot of fantasy in this, but I am excited to try it, and I think maybe it'll work for me because I do like horror. Then we have The Tethered Spirits by T.A. Hernandez. I really don't know a lot about these books because I bought them because I'm planning on reading all the finalists. I'm obsessed with the map in here, and I think that for a self-published book, there's a lot of extra additions in this. There's some drawings, and just, it's done really well. It looks really pretty. The hardback of this book is stunning if you like hardbacks, but I'm a paperback kind of gal. This one, I think, is going to lean a little bit YA, but again, I'm still hopeful. We're following 3 characters. We have a man with an unknown past, a girl afraid of her own powers, and a woman on a vital mission. And when their paths collide, all 3 are set on a journey to unravel a mystery far deeper than any of them suspected. That's all I know about this book, but I'm super excited to get to it. I wish I could tell you more, but you'll have to keep an eye out because I will have a vlog where I'm reading this. So keep an eye out for that SPFBO Cassie's Versions vlog. Then we have The Umbral Storm by Alec Hudson. I'm very excited. This is one of my top predictions for SPFBO. I think I'm going to love it. It's a chunk, and for some reason I really, really like this cover. I talk about it in my watching the finalists vlog reaction, that this shouldn't be a cover that works for me, but it really is, and I really enjoy it. But I'm gonna read you the back because I don't really know a lot about this book. 1,000 years ago, the heart of the world was shattered, its fragments scattered across the lands. In the chaos that followed, martial orders arose to gather those shards, for it was found that great powers were granted when these shards were bonded to the flesh of the chosen. These are the sharded few, warriors imbued with the divine energies that once coursed through the heart and driven to absorb enough fragments to claim godhood. Darren has known nothing in his life except suffering. Orphaned at the edge of the realms, indentured to a cruel slaver, he has little hope of escaping his circumstances. But elsewhere, ancient powers are stirring. New alliances threaten the peace of the old order, and against all odds, Darren will find himself a player in the game unlike anything he could ever imagine. The way this magic system works sounds really cool to me, and I'm very, very intrigued, and I really, really want to love this one. And then we have The Fire of the Forebears by L.A. Buck. This is of course, another SPFBO finalist. That's where we're in. This says, fires of hope reflect in barked fangs and sharpened steel. Again, I don't know a lot about this book. I know Dom from Domnish Books enjoyed it. It was his semi that like went through, if that makes sense. I think we're following two people that are on opposite sides of the rebellion, which is something I really typically enjoy in my fantasy. There says there's human wielders of an ancient elemental magic, and also I know that there are talking animals, specifically talking bears in this, which is kind of intriguing. This says they're centaurs, and the rebellion mistakes our one character for the land's prophesied savior, and while he'd rather negotiate with rebels than fight them, Tristan can't ignore prophecy. That was the sham his father used to steal the crown in the first place. Over a century ago, their ancestors sailed the oceans in search of peace and died as heroes fighting for it, but heroes and villains aren't always what they seem to be. I wonder if this will be a book that plays on the idea that, like, history is written by the victors, and that's something I really, really enjoy in books. Then we have Small Miracles, Bad Angels, Good Intentions by Olivia Atwater. This is one that is not my typical read at all, but I'm reading all the finalists. It's supposed to be cozy fantasy. Rachel recently read it and kind of described it as The Good Omens meets The Good Place. Those are things that it reminded her of. I'm expecting a little bit of comedy, a little bit of cozy, and I heard that there's like a sin counter in this book, which sounds really cool. There's footnotes. I know nothing about this book, but if you like cozy fantasy, I would definitely check this one out. Then we have Miss Percy's Pocket Guide to the Care and Feeding of British Dragons by Quinn B. Olson. Now, this is, again, like an alternate history, I think. It, like, takes place on our world, and it is a cozy fantasy. Again, not my typical read. Finalists are pushing me out of my comfort zone. I'm obsessed with this cover, though. This dragon in the widow egg is so cute. This follows our character who wakes up and there's a dragon that's hatched, and she now has to become a caretaker of dragons. And I think we're watching her do that. That's all I really know. But I'm excited. I like dragons. Then we have Scales and Sensibility by Stephanie Burgess, which is Regency Dragons, another one that I'm just kind of excited about, even though it's not my typical style. I'm guessing this is a Sense and Sensibility retelling, reimagining with a dragon, and we're gonna get some romance, and we have a kidnapped her awful cousin's Penelope's pet dragon, and she never would have thought she had to engage in outrageous magical charade to save her younger sister's futures. Eleanor will have to find out just how impractical she can be to win her true love and happily ever after with the unpredictable and dangerous help of the magical creature who has adopted her. I like dragons, okay? So if you put dragons in a cozy fantasy, any type of fantasy, I'm probably gonna go for it. Then we have The 13th Hour by Trudy Skies. This is a steampunk fantasy. I think, again, it's going to border YA, but I'm still really interested. I'm expecting a romance in this, just from having a male and the female on the cover and feeling the YA vibes. I am expecting romance of some sort. This is we're following the city of Chime, where cruel gods are around. They demand worship and tribute from their mortal subjects, but Kale has lost her faith in them and now, like, goes to protect people from these cruel gods. But when she apparently has a magical ability and she does a sin, she becomes Chime's #1 most wanted. And that's when our other character, Quen, comes in, and he has the job to pursue sinners. He hunts soul-sucking creatures made of aether who prey on its citizens, and Kale is his #1 target. To ensure Chime's future, Kale and Quen must discover the truth of Kale's divine abilities before the gods take matters into their own hands. For a city that bows to cruel gods, it'll take godless heathens to save it. That ending line of the synopsis gets me every single time. I'm very excited to read this one. It's something I don't typically read a lot of for, like, no reason. I just haven't tried a lot of steampunk, and I want to try more. Okay, let's get into purchased books. We have Fire and Blood by George R.R. Martin, which is the House of the Targaryen book. My sister, me, and her roommate are doing a buddy read of this because we watched the show and we just wanted to know more. It's a Game of Thrones prequel thingy following the Targaryen house. Yeah. These two bad boys, which are the second and third book in the Lycanis trilogy by James Islington, no idea how I say it. I say Islington. These are the backlist book club picks, so I needed to get them. I need to read them. I don't really want to hold them up, so what can I do? Can I just put them, like, here? I'm gonna forget about them. That looks stupid. We're just gonna hope you're smart enough to know I'm talking about these. The first book in the series, A Shadow What Was Lost, follows this world where we used to have augurs who were all powerful, but there was a rebellion that took out the augurs, and now the gifted which are, like, below the augurs. I'm not really sure how this relationship works, even though I've read the first one. and the gifted end up signing a treaty that, like, relinquishes their powers and makes them slaves to the humankind. And we're following our protagonist, who is a gifted, but might actually be more than that. And a story that goes on from there. Then we have A Good Girl's Guide to Murder by Holly Jackson. This is a YA thriller, and we're following our character who opens up a podcast that relives one of these high school murder investigations, and I'm gonna guess she's gonna find out a little bit more than what meets the eye as she opens up this investigation and starts to figure things out. I'm buddy reading this with my friend Destiny, and I'm really excited to get to this. That's all. We have a collection of horror short stories. This was actually meant for a video in October where I wanted to try reading classic horror authors. So I bought this because there's a lot of those classics like H.P. Lovecraft, Bram Stoker, Edgar Allan Poe. So I was going to read this in that video. It never happened, but I'm keeping it around because I want to still try them. You might see a video like that at some point on my channel. Then we have Godbreaker by Mike Brooks, which is the third and last book in the God King Chronicles, which starts with The Black Coast. The Black Coast was one of my favorite reads last year, and I've still not read the second or the third book. The Black Coast follows the town of Blackkeep that know one thing. When they see ravens, that means invaders are coming, and they have to, like, fight to survive. But this time, when they see ravens, there is a white flag, and these outside people that come to kill them are seeking asylum, and the two people have to learn to work together, but there's also an overarching plot about the God King. That's all I'm going to say. I really, really need to continue this. I love the way this book handles gender and sexuality and breaking those constraints and bounds on what we see as normal. We have A Shadow in Summer by Daniel Abraham, which is the first book in the Long Price Quartet. I know nothing. Literally nothing about this series, besides that I thought it looked interesting and people talk about it, and I thought, why not try to read it? The Andat are a sort of malevolent spiritual entity that, when bound by an order of poets, have power that can be used as a kind of magic. In the city of Saraki, the local Andant, under the control of the city poets, is used to speed cotton harvests, but that and the economic future of the city is in jeopardy when a conspiracy involving a pregnant foreign girl goes awry, leaving her baby dead. The intricate plot unfolds from viewpoints of a woman trade advisor who makes it her quest to find those responsible for the dead child, and two students of the Dekvo Poet School, all of whom are caught in the wake of conspiracy's crime and who will have their lives forever changed by it. No idea that this is what this was about. I'm not gonna lie. I just bought it, and I'm gonna read it. We have There's Someone Inside Your House by Stephanie Perkins, which is a YA horror slasher. It's literally just your typical horror. We're following a girl who, in her town, people are in her high school are starting to be killed in gruesome ways. She's got to figure out who the killer is because she might be next. Typical slasher. I've already read it. I enjoyed it. It was okay. Then we have Finley Donovan is Killing It. I know there's a lot of books outside my comfort zone on this haul. Most moms are ready to kill someone by 8:30 a.m. on any given morning. I believe we're following Finley, who is writing a suspense novel, and she's overheard and someone pays her to kill someone. They don't know what's actually her plot of her next novel. They just think she's going out killing people. So she takes up the job and the money, and she's going to kill someone. It sounds funny. I don't know why, but this sounds like a cozy, funny movie that I would like. So I'm excited to try this one. Then we have Fire Sea, which is Margaret Weiss and Tracy Hickman, which is the Deathgate Cycle, Volume 3. I actually know nothing about this series either, but I've been picking up the entire series secondhand when I see them just because I like the covers on them, and they are classics in the fantasy. So I bought this secondhand because I already own a couple of the other ones, but I'm not going to tell you a summary because to be honest, I have no idea. No idea. The Thousand Names by Django Wexler, which is the first book in the Shadow campaigns. Now, I also have no idea what this is about, besides that it's flintlock fantasy. In the desert colony of Kandar, a dark and mysterious magic is about to be unleashed. I think that I would also probably say it looks like there's a rebellion and troops. It's probably a military fantasy, which is a buzzword for me. I just loved Ashes of the Sun by Django Wexler so much that I need to try more. So I got my hands on it. We have our senior captain serving in a remote outpost when a rebellion leaves him in charge of a demoralized force in hostile land. Among his troops is Winter, some last name, newly promoted to a sergeant, but as well as having to rise to the challenge, she hides a secret. Their fates rest in the hands of a new person who was following his own mysterious and supernatural agenda agenda. It just sounds unique and different, which is something I've really been trying for in the fantasy world. And then we have Into the Drowning Deep by Mira Grant, which is a sci-fi horror about a ship that goes to the middle of the ocean to investigate whether killer mermaids are real or not. I recently read this in my underwater horror vlog. I really, really, really adored it. If you like Blake Crouch's sci-fi thrillers, I would say try this. It's very sci-fi horror. It's done so well. And it's not very spooky because the sci-fi elements in it are just done really, really well. Really enjoyed it. It is a longer one and the pacing is a little bit off, but I highly suggest reading it. Whew. That's all of the physical books. Let's move on to ebooks. Ebook wise, I bought a couple horrors. I bought The Last House on Needless Street by Katrina Ward, which is... how should I tell you about this? It's a horror... not very horror, probably more like a thriller, like a psychological thriller about a house where this man, there is a cat, a kidnapped child, and a unstable man, but not all of those are true, but yet none are either. That's all I'm gonna say. This book is not what it's sold to you as, so I don't know how to sell it without spoilers, because I understand why they sell it to you like that, but I think my expectations were very different when I read it. I've already read it, and I didn't enjoy it because I had different expectations going in of what I was getting in a book, so I think that I'm trying to keep it very vague. I bought Mary by Nat Cassidy, which is another psychological book. I would say it's a psychological horror. It's about ghosts and also a cult, which no one talks about how it's a cult, and I don't know if that's because people think it's a spoiler, but like, I feel like that was a given from the very start of the book, so I don't think that it's a spoiler to say that there's a cult involved within this story, and we're just following. I found this book very chilling as a woman, which is funny because it's written by a man and it's done so well, but like, it's very like a chilling on like women fears, like our main character is going through menopause and the fears of a woman going through menopause and doctors not believing things that you say, and just like those like small moments that make up being a woman and make it sometimes so terrifying, like people thinking that you're old now and just all these thoughts that society thinks about us that are all like encompassing and crumbling to your health. I think it was just done so well. I really enjoyed this. But I'm not in a wrap-up here, but yeah, Mary. Then I bought The Cotton Candy Massacre, which is a story about a old amusement park where the clown used to kill everyone, and then the clown died in a cotton candy machine, and now the cotton candy machine is at a reopening of the park and making everyone crazy and killing people. Very, very 80s camp. I DNF'd it, but like, yeah. And then I bought Unconquerable Sun by Kate Elliott, which is a sci-fi that I know nothing about, but I do want to try Kate Elliott. I do want to try more sci-fi, so I bought it because it was on sale. Now into audiobooks. I am not going to tell you anything about these audiobooks because I feel like this video is already way too long, but here are the audiobooks I bought. Audible had a sale, so I bought The Emperor's Blade by Brian Stavley. This book right here. I bought The Providence of Fire by Brian Stavley because it's the next book in that series. I bought The Wolf of Aranjaro. I needed the audio, I own the physical, and I bought The Pariah because I wanted the audio. I own the physical. Then, things I've used credits on in the last couple months. A Touch of Light by Thiago Abdullah. I loved this book, gave it 5 stars, definitely check it out. Winds of Strife by UG Gutman, another indie that I loved. Blackstone Heart, which is an indie that I didn't overly love. It's in the Necromancy vlog. Into the Drowning Deep audiobook. I already talked about Into the Drowning Deep. From Below audiobook by Darcy Coates, which I loved. The Shadow of What Was Lost, which I didn't really love, but you saw some of the books in there. Babel, didn't love. The Atlas 6, I enjoyed. And then Upgrade by Blake Crouch, which I haven't read yet. A lot of the credit audiobooks I use, I read. Like, I buy it and read it right away. So Upgrade is actually quite next on my list. There we go. Those are all the books I've purchased recently. That is a disgusting amount of books when I think about it. But like, also, there's so many more books out there that I want to buy. Okay, if you made it to the end of this video and you'd like to leave me an emoji just to say you were here, leave me some sort of clothes. There has to be some kind of clothing emoji, right? I don't know why I thought of that emoji, but that's just what we're getting. And if you'd like to connect with me on other platforms, my Bookstagram, my Book Twitter, my Goodreads, and my Patreon are all linked in the description bar below. Have yourselves an absolutely remarkable day.